Hello everyone. So this is the second part of installation of Security Onion. We have done the first part in the previous video. If you have not viewed it, you have to view it first. So we have done the initial installation. Now in this part, we finalize the installation by doing configuration so that we can log in to the actual Security Onion web console. So we continue by starting our virtual machine, but the first thing that we have to do, we have to set the network card. And of course, to set the network card for VirtualBox, as I said, if you are using a different virtualization system, then you should adapt it accordingly. But for the VirtualBox, then you select the particular virtual machine, which is this one, and then you go to settings, and then you go to network. Now here we need to have two adapters. And one thing to observe in this Security Onion installation, the first adapter need to have internet connection, because during installation it will keep on downloading some stuff, and of course this is the hard part because there are no much information about it, and most of the people who have done it, they're failing in this part. That's why you have to listen very careful. So even in a production environment, you will also need to have two network cards. The first one, of course, will be, we will call it a manager interface, which we'll be using to access the Security Onion web console. And the second part, we are going to call it like a monitoring or a sniffing interface, which in production is the one that is going to sniff all the traffic of your network so that it can pull it to Security Onion for analysis. So for the case of this virtual machine, we are going to set the first card using a bridged adapter. And of course, there are different approach, there are different kind of networks you can use to do this. But I've decided to use the one that is very straightforward, because you could have adapted for NAT, but to access the web console, then you would have to configure port forwarding. Of course, it's also easier, but we want to save time here. So you can use other alternative that you know are affordable, but this is the one that is straightforward for me. But one thing to note, if you are using a bridged adapter, it means this machine to be on and to be operating, it needs to have the particular interface app that was configured during installation. For instance, maybe assuming that now I've connected the hotspot from my mobile phone and I've used the bridge adapter. It means every time that I want to use this particular instance, I need to have connection to my mobile phone hotspot, even if I'm not having internet, but it need to have the same connection that was used during the installation. There is a twisting of it that you could have reset the IP by using any network, by using any other network source, but that is also possible for those who want to trick it around. As I said from the beginning, when we present these things, we present in a way that we focus on the less privileged people, the beginner. That's why we put things in a very straight way for everyone to easy to follow and of course and to understand. So the first adapter is the bridged adapter. The second adapter, you can use any adapter that you know it's okay with you. But for my case, I'm going to use NAT network. So the first is bridged adapter, then the second is NAT. Then I click OK, then you start your particular instance, and all you need to do now is just to press enter and then waiting for it to boot up. Yeah. Remember, this is the continuation. If you have not viewed the first video, you have to view it first. And of course, we have a WhatsApp number at the bottom right of our screen. If you have an issue at any point during the installation, you can call us. So here you put the username you specified during the initial installation. And here also you put the password that you specified during the initial installation. So I retype mine, which is this one. There I am. So if you have done everything accordingly, then when you just log in at the first time, you are going to see this screen. And of course, that prompt is straightforward. It welcomes you to Security Onion, and it like you to know that what is coming to be, is going to be happening next, which is actual configuration. So to effect the current iterated option, like now it's yes, you place a space bar. And of course, this is about installation option. You can install it in a standard way, or you can just configure network and then leave it as it is. If you would have been installing it in a distributed environment, then you would have opted for the second option, configure network. Then you could have continued with this other option after configure network. But because now everything is in the same box, we can just move with the standard installation, which also we are going to configure network within the same thing. So you can use tab to go to this other option like okay, and then when you have it, you place select. Now here you choose the kind of deployment that you want to do. The important one is the one that we most use if we are doing something like forensic or just analysis, like you have some pickup files from a certain network traffic, maybe in your own network or your colleagues, and then you want to analyze. As we have been saying, this platform is for security operation center analysis or analyst. So you can deploy it in such a way that you just use to import pickup and then you're doing the analysis. That's not what we want to do. For us, we want to do the evaluation where we have like live traffic. We can even monitor the live traffic. Of course, we are going to see during the demonstration. We can replay traffic and we can even monitor the live traffic. It's the same. Nothing is different upon those two options. So this is the option that we need. For standalone, of course, is in production mode, but it's the same as evaluation. The difference is just this one is more robust for production, and in evaluation is more for evaluation. Though you can use it, it depends on the traffic and of course the network bandwidth, the traffic, the logs that you collect. Even the evaluation mode you can use in a small deployment. But if you are using in real high traffic infrastructure, then you should opt for standalone. But as we are doing this for case study, evaluation is good for us. Distributed, as we say, if you want to distribute different components of Security Onion, as we have a web console, we have those suricata, whatever components. If you want to distribute them accordingly, you can select for us. So as a desktop, it's also the same. I mean, the same by the sense that you install Security Onion, but also you want to install the graphical user interface for analysis and that. So for our case, we are going to use this evaluation deployment. Then we click tab, which is take us to OK. Then we click spacebar. So for navigation, if you want to move from this upper option to the bottom line option like OK and cancel, you use tab. And then if you want to select, like to effect it, you use spacebar or you place enter key. You should remember that. So here we just need to agree because this, as we said, this distributional platform at the backbone, it is run by Elastic Stack. And for those who have been following us in this series, we covered the Elastic Stack. And here we keep on appreciating how powerful that platform is. So for here, we have to agree with Elastic Stack license agreement. So you write agree as it is by capital case, then you go to OK. And of course, we are opting for the option that this box is going to have internet connection. For those who would have installed it in an area or environment where you don't want it to access internet for one reason or another, then you can use air gap, but it has its own tweaking if you want to use that option. But for us, we are going to use this standard because it's also going to download the updated package that were there after the ISO image was created. So as usual, we click OK. Then of course it wants us, it needs at least 12 GB, but we have 8. As I said before, it will work. There's no big deal. So also here we select yes, okay. Then here we select the host name. So you can write anything. So for my case, I write it as SOC maybe analyst. But here you can use whatever host name that you want to use for your particular installation. Then tab to go to OK. If I would have wanted to select cancel after pressing tab, I would have just used the light and arrow key. But because I want to say it's okay to move on, I'm highlighting the OK, then I'm pressing a spacebar. The host name is not okay. I think it's because of the underscore. So I can just say SOC analyst without an underscore or space. Then okay, there it is. Now here is where we are picking those two interfaces. Remember, the first one is the one that needs to have the network connection. Now you could have recalled to know which interface is which here so that you can set it accordingly. And one thing you have to note is just the MAC address. Now the problem here, I cannot highlight by using a pointer because this is a shell So the pointer is not that powerful here. Yeah. So the first one, if you would have marked the MAC address of the highlighted interface, it end up with 81 and EA. So if you wanted to cross check it, let me do it like this, because I know here we would have, yes, I want to, yes, to remove this, then to remove this one. Yeah, this is what I want. If I would want to cross check which interface is which here. I could just note the last characters of the highlighted MAC address, which is 81 EA. So I could have just go to machine settings, then network, then I would check the first of that adapter of mine at advanced bottom. Then you can see it also end up with 81 EA. What I'm trying to say, it's this MAC address is exactly the one that is the first one. The same apply to this MAC address. So if you would have concerned, maybe you have set a network interface that does not have internet access and you don't want to use it as the first interface for management, then here is how you could have verified it. So for my case and for the setup that we did from the beginning of this video, this is the interface that I need. So I press, a tab bar, then it takes me to OK, then a space bar for executing it. Then here we have to set a static IP address. Remember, this is a platform. It has integrated component. Elasticsearch as itself, it has Logstash, Elastic, Kibana. Then there are so many components as we saw in the previous presentation, like Suricata, Zeek, Stenograph. I can mention them all. So all these components are integrated by using this platform. And of course, it uses certificate, self-signed certificate. So for those self-signed certificate to be valid, they are signed according to particular IP. So for this platform, you cannot use a dynamic IP. You cannot use DHCP. And even if you use DHCP, then those IP that you have set for this distribution, you have to put a reservation for them in your DHCP server. What I'm trying to say, the IP address that you set here should not change, because if they will change, they may present conflict, having that the certificate being signed during installation for particular IP, then during learning time, the IP has been changed. So you could have issues. So for our case, we go straight to set a static IP. Then we press a tab bar. Okay, now here you have to put your IP address. Now here is why you also need to listen very careful. The address you put here should base on your network. And of course, that network also based on the selection of the interface. Remember, the interface that we choose for the management, the one that we are setting here, and this is the same IP that we are going to access it so that we can access the web console of this platform. It is from the bridged adapter. What it means is the connection of this virtual machine that is used to access internet by NATing this virtual machine to the host machine. In a simple form, if we are using bridged adapter, is we are trying to say we put the virtual machine in the same LAN as the host, which means it's going to have the same network. It's going to have the same type of IP as the host machine. So what's the host machine IP address? I can just go here and says if config, then you can see, because it's a bridge data, so I'm concerned about this wireless connection here. And this is the IP address of the host. So because of the net mask, you can see the only part of the machine that changes is this last offset. So whatever address that I have to put there so that it is compatible with the selected network card and the network type, it should be something 192.168 100 dot something. Anything apart from that, you can set it there, but during learning, you will not be able to access that box because it will be in a different network if you messed up with the network part, because the first three of octet, they present the network part. So you can put an address now based on your particular network address. So you check yours. Mine is that one. So that's why here I put 192.168.100. The network part has to be the same. Now this one, I can put anything as long as the valid network machine part. The valid identification of the machine. And of course, this IP address have to put in CIDR notation. If you don't put it that way, it won't work. So I've just saved you a lot of time. For those who try to continue, I know they would have been stacking in some different areas, and the documentation for this part is not that straightforward. Yeah, so that's how we do it. And of course, that I don't need to define it because I'm not teaching networking here. But what it tried to say, the phase three octet are for network, and the last octet is the one for the machine. So that's it. Then I click, I use the tab key, then it takes me to OK, then spacebar. Then here I have to put the gateway. Now we know the gateway as normal gateway as we always know, dot 100 dot 1. That's the gateway. There it is. Then the DNA server, I can leave them as they are. There it is. The DNA search domain, you can leave it as it is. There it is. So here it takes me to how am I going to connect to the internet. For my case, I'm connecting directly. I'm not using any prox. And if you would have been using prox, then you would have set it. So for this installation, we are not going to use any prox. We are connecting directly. So I just press a tab to take me to OK, then pressing a space bar to accept it. Then, as I said, there are a lot of components. Then it means there are some kind of container orchestration. So what is trying to tell you here that their default Docker IP range, do you want to use that same IP range for those components like Suricata, for Elasticsearch, for Logstash, and so and so. So for this part here, just accept it because you don't need to have many tweaking during this installation. Use the default as they are. So yes, then this now we select the second network interface, which we'll be using for monitoring traffic. And of course, if you would have verified this now exactly based on the MAC address corresponding to the second interface that we set to use NAT network on our virtual machine. So to select this one, I press the space bar. It means now I have selected it. Then I press a tab bar to move to this other option, and of course a space bar to accept what I've just selected. Now here you just set your email, which is going to be used as a username now to accept, to log into the the Security Onion web console. So this is mine. And of course, it's not necessary for this email to be valid. Just need to have a proper email format, but it can even be a dummy email. But as long as it has a proper email format, it's okay. So for me, I've used that one. Yeah. And you have to remember it because, in other words, this is going to be your username for all activities that you are going to do on the web console of this Elastic Union. So that is for me. Then, as usual, okay. Then I have to put the password for the email that I've just set. There it is. Then tab key, then okay. Confirming the password. This is what I'm doing here. There it is. Then okay. Of course, now here you need to choose how are you going to access the web interface. Are you going to use the IP, the host name, and other? Now, if you want to use the host name, then you need to have DNA setting for that host name and so and so. So for our case, we are just going to use IP, straightforward. We don't need to do all those other stuffs. There it is. Okay. Now, do you want to allow access to this security onion installation? Yes, that is what we need. Because remember, this is in a different box, and this box is Oracle Linux. It does not have the GUI, graphical user interface. So to access the web interface, you'll need to have a machine or whatever the asset that have a web browser, which is going to be in a different IP. So we do need to allow this accessing of web console. So we select yes. Then here also we need to put the address range because we have set the manager IP, the monitor IP. Now, when we want to access the web interface, which is going to be accessed using by that interface of manager interface. So what IP should be allowed is the kind of security measure. You can set it anyhow that you like. But as I said, for my case, if I will look to my network, it means we are in this network 192.168.100. And of course, this address can be added and removed after having access to the web console. So don't bother much about. But for now, just set the IP that you can real access based on the network configuration of the manager network card, which was the first network card. And for our case, is the one that used adapter network type in this VirtualBox instance. So I'm going to specify that address 168.100.1, whatever the address that I will get from this network part here, from 192.168.100, from dot 1 to dot 255, because you will never know. Maybe next time when you switch this wireless connection on, you are not going to get this as the dot 13. Maybe you may going to get the 14 or dot what. So that is what it means. But as I say, this address can be changed, and you can put any block that you want. When you have access to the web interface, you can do all those stuff. So for now, this is enough. Then okay, then it gives you the summary of what you have just configured, which is just a repetition. What you need to remember is this management IP. This is the one that you are going to use to access the web console. And of course, you need to remember the username you set and the password. So for here, I also click tab to go to yes or no. But for my case, I select yes. Then I place a spacebar to accept it. Now it's going to do the installation. Now here I'm going to pause this video because for real it's going to take a very long time. I don't remember the minutes or the hours. I've already done this part. So for the case of this video, I'm not going to wait until it is done. Of course, this is night, so waiting 2 hours or 1 hour, that is not feasible for me. So I'm going to cancel it here and continues when it has finished downloading and installing all these packages. As I said, you proceed with it, but it's going to take a very enough time, depending on your network connection, the resource that you set, and all those blah, blah. But for my case, this is enough. I can just proceed to the next step. After doing all this, there's no any other prompt that you are going to see apart from the one that I'm going to jump next from here. So to do that, I'll just close this machine for now because I no longer need it. Now, what you are going to see next after, yes, after doing all those stuff and it doing the installation to the end, this is what you are going to see as the last prompt. And it's going to say like this: evaluation setup is now complete, showing you the IP address that you are going to access. And remember, it is HTTPS, not HTTP, because it used self-signed certificate and for security, yeah, and those blah blah. And of course, the username, the password, you have to remember it. So what you would need to do when you see this prompt, because it tells you to press tab and the enter key, you will press tab to takes you to OK, then the enter key or space key to accept it. Then automatically you are done. You can continue now with accessing the web console of the installation by using this specified IP. So that's the last prompt you are going to see. So as I said, I've already done this part and I've done this part until this moment. So I'm going to continue from here. So for you, I know you will still need to wait for it to complete because it's going to take time. So after it has done its task, you can continue as I'm demonstrating here. So here is the one that I've done it completely. So I'm just starting because it's another instance. I'm starting this instance of the virtual machine. And of course, it's also an experience for you because you may finish it there and rebooting it. So this is how it's going to start. And there are some things to note during the startup so you don't get confused. Because as I said, a trial and error for the beginner, there are issues that you can see. Maybe something is not okay, but actually, because I've already done it in different instances in the virtual machine, in the production environment, so I share the knowledge for you so that it saves you time and struggle that were unnecessary. So if you see these logs, actually, it has already finished the booting up the server. These are just logs for starting the Docker and the port and what and what and what. So you can just place enter to have this login prompt that you see. So I enter my username that I used during the installation. And don't bother about these other logs that are coming. They are not affecting your inputs. So you just enter your username as it is, press enter, then you are going to enter the password, just typing it. Even if you see the logs keep on popping up, it's not a big deal. Yeah, there it is. Then it has logged me in, and those logs will continue to pop up until it finished the booting up all the Docker. So as you can see, the logs are keep on popping up, but they don't affect my command prompt. I can still run command and see some stuff. So for my case here, I'm good to go, and I can press enter to see the command prompt. And the first thing I need to do to be sure that everything is okay, because I've installed it. But remember, those given service and tools, they have to be booted up so that I can access them and make use of these platforms. So for SOC analysis or for SOC analysis. So to know the status of all those components that you have installed in this given instance, you can use this command sudo so, then a dash, then status. Then it require a password for you. As I said, don't bother about those logs. They don't affect your input prompt. So, of course, this is what I wanted you to see. So, at first time when it boot up, of course, at any time when it is booting up, it will take time to start the component. That is the feedback you get. System appear to be starting. No high states has completed since the system was started. What it's trying to tell you, you have just rebooted it, and there are so many components that I need to initiate them for you. I mean to start them for you, as we saw all those components, and of course we just mentioned a few. So I just need to wait a little bit until when I run that command, I see the list of the component and they have started accordingly. Then is where I can just access the web console and see what I'm supposed to see. So for now, I just wait. Yeah, I just wait. And of course, I won't know exactly when it has ended. I will just need to keep on running the command to check the status. As long as it tells me it is appeared to be starting, I will just need to wait. So it will take some few minutes, not like the installation part. It will take some few minutes. And of course, this also depends on the resource you have allocated. Remember, the minimum RAM resource was 12 GB, but for us, we just use 8 GB. So that is also a kind of a draw line to shows you the difference. So for those who have enough resources, and remember that is just a minimum resource. If you could have read the documentation of this platform, they said the minimum is 12 GB, but they recommend at least 16 GB. So if you have that kind of resource in your environment and you are located, even the CPU, the minimum is 4 cores, but you can put as many cores as you can afford. So the better, I mean, the much the processing resource and the memory resource, the faster the platform. So for now, as I said, I will just need to wait. And whenever I want to run the command, I have to place interface. And of course, to wait. Still, the system appear to be starting. This is the message that I'm focusing. No high state has completed since the system was started. Now, this one, I can pause the video and until I see the actual prompt. I think that's better to save time so that the video. Okay, so now it has finished booting up all those containers, and as usual, the command that I need to check is sudo so dash status. Pressing enter now, I see now all these containers and they are all running. Then what it tells me now, it's okay. I can log into my web console and starting to make my adversaries cry. That's their slogan, of course, and it does realize that if you get competence in this platform, that's the essence of this series, of course. So as you can see, these are those key containers or key tools like curator, register, elastic, what. I don't need to mention them all. So here I can just minimize this screen and now goes to to the to the browser, then lighting the address that I was given when I finished installing it. Of course, the address that I specify for management IP 192. Now, this is for my case. As I said, everyone should put according to the networks selected and they are given network range. For me, it was this one, dot 100 or 200. There it is. So it gives me the login form. then writing my username based on the username that I set during the installation and the configuration, because now this is the configuration. The installation was the previous video. Code angelstz.com. Then my password, there it is. Then goes to login. I'm done. So now I'm in the Security Onion web console. And of course, that was the main objective of today's video. So I can check the grid to see that everything is okay. So for now, it tells me like it's fault. Maybe there are something that are still being booted up. So I can just wait for it. Maybe something is not yet being brought up. I can just wait for it for a little bit, because if I review my logs, it tells me everything is okay here. This one here is going to make your adversaries cry. Sorry, checking this one. Yeah, as you can see, it has changed. So don't worry when you see those kind of red flags and you know everything is okay, because what was giving me confidence is nothing but these logs here. It tells me everything is running, there is no problem. So that temporary red flag was just a temporary as it is. So if going to this grid, it shows you the health status of your node. And if you see the status is okay, it means everything is okay. And you can click this arrow to see more details about it. And of course, all the components are running and everything is okay. So for today, this is enough. Of course, you yourself, you can continue starting traversing it. But as I said, the purpose of this series is for us to have competent skills on cybersecurity, including security operation center and SOC analyst by using Security Onion. So the next videos we are going to continue discussing the overview and covering all the necessary skills for us to make the most of this platform. So that's it for today. But please, whenever you have a concern, whenever you have started, because I know the installation of this platform, it's a kind of daunting. So if you have an issue based on the network, the configuration of your feature, whatever that make you to start not reaching this point, you can just WhatsApp us by using this WhatsApp number at the bottom right of this screen. And remember, give us the message, not calling. This number is for messaging. So you can message us, and when we have time, we will respond to you. That's it for today. Have a nice day. But something else that I should not forget, please and please and please, you should tell other people not to miss this kind of skills. You should not be mean, because I myself am not mean. This kind of skills, for some of us to get the level of this kind of skills, it's a kind of time consuming, and of course trial and errors. And for those who even try to do the installation on their own, they can testify it was not as straight as I'm trying to demonstrate it here. So we shouldn't left other people behind. If you have any person that is interested with cybersecurity, be it ethical hacking, because we have another series for ethical hacking in the same channel, all the fundamental stuff, a student, a beginner, intermediate, advanced, whoever it is, please tell them about this channel so that we can all share this knowledge and make the most of it. Now have a real nice day. Thank you.